On May 13th, 2025, Blizzard added one of my favorite achievements to this game. What is up, my dudes? It's Para. I've been playing WoW for a long time, and I want to talk to you about the Triple Threat achievement. Now, what is that achievement? So, this is one of the first challenging alt achievements that they've added to the game, and it's kind of a form of replayable horizontal progression that you can take at your own pace, and it is not challenging enough that you can't just overgear the content. So that's important to note that this is something that pretty much everyone can do. So the actual act of doing it is more, I would say, about the journey than the destination here. Many seasonal achievements that they've introduced to WoW, such as Cutting Edge or Keystone Legend, have been about making the content harder and harder. And this is introducing some different flavors of difficulty that is specifically learning new roles and getting a different perspective on Mythic Plus. So this achievement specifically requires you to get the complete 10 level keystones. Sorry, a level 10 keystone for all of the 8 seasonal dungeons under each of the different roles. And obviously unless you play a tank, unless you play a monk or a paladin, then you will need a second class in order to complete this. So the best part about this achievement for me was that it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. I've been maining Resto Shaman for this tier in Mythic Plus, and I have been a little bit intimidated to learn Elemental Shaman for Mythic Plus because the rotation is just pretty different than the raid one, and that has been just something that's been a barrier. I don't feel comfortable going into a 13 with a spec that I really don't know. I haven't played very much of, but this achievement pushed me to, hey, try something that's a little bit easier. I started with some 9s, I started with some 10s because my character's pretty geared, and actually give the rotation a shot, practice a little bit. I looked up videos, and I actually started to enjoy it. I thought that the playstyle was really fun, and I wouldn't have been pushed into doing that if there wasn't for this achievement. The other spec that I played was Guardian Druid, mainly because I had a little bit of experience from looking at this in Dragonflight Season 1. I played a Guardian Druid to get my Mythic Plus achievements done. So I was pretty familiar with the playstyle. I wasn't familiar with the hero talents of it, and I wasn't familiar with any other changes that have occurred between Season 1 and now. I also liked Bear Tank. It was not the most challenging to play, but it was really enjoyable in how you're kind of forced to use your defensives to increase your damage. Coming at it from a damage dealer perspective, you're always trying to maximize your damage, and just having to use them as a part of your rotation, I found that the keys were a lot easier only because of the fact that I'm actively using these abilities, whereas I've seen tanks that kind of hold on to their mitigation and not use them because they're waiting for the perfect moment, but just sending them on cooldown if you don't have a plan for them is honestly optimal and really good. The other thing that I really enjoyed about this achievement was gearing up a new alt and going through that warband process. I had a lot of warband gear. I enjoyed going through delves. I enjoyed all the other catch-up systems. So I had the delve vendor unlocked. I had the Dinars access to me. I had the fractured sparks. I had all the catalyst charges. It was just a really smooth experience. And specifically, I really like delves as a way of being able to challenge yourself in a safe space. You're able to go in and you can, if you're a tank, you can try and pull as many packs as you can and do some limit testing on yourself and see where are the stop gaps for you. And I thought that was a really satisfying way of learning, because it was learning through the gameplay of actually trying to push yourself and trying to learn more and more about your class. So, Yeah, and even the zeros, mythic zeros, twos, sevens, tens as different breakpoints. Being able to do your first seven was really fun because once you get to sevens and you can do them, then it's really easy to farm up heroic gear. It's easy to farm up gilded crests. Once you get the gilded crests, you can get the big. You can use your fractured sparks for big weapons. Those kinds of things were nice like breakpoints where you could see your character progressively get stronger and stronger, and while you're in those sevens, you also can practice the different mechanics. So I learned a lot of different tanking mechanics through this journey. Like in Workshop, the platinum plating needs to get dispelled by taking the boss under a big hammer to dispel it. And I have done 150 keys this season, and I did not even know that was a mechanic that had to be done. We ended up wiping, but we still timed the key because those sevens are a safe space, especially at this phase in the season. The next thing that I really enjoyed was getting your first 10 done on an alt. Even though I had gotten 10s done on other characters, or I got a 10 done on my main, I was able to easily get a 10 done on Ellie Shaman. Because the character is so geared, that kind of like, can't I do it, that chance of failure doesn't feel as high. But when you do your first 10 as a new class, and you're like right on that edge of can't I do this, being able to complete it feels so good and so satisfying that it's just like a moment that you really wish that you could keep capturing, because it's like all of this effort that you've put in to try to get here is finally paid off. And now once you get your first 10 done, the next ones are significantly easier and easier and easier, because not only your gear gets better, but you kind of get over a little bit of a mental blocker. Let's see. I also really like just learning the different perspectives of the dungeons. You know, they make these dungeons with healer, tank, and damage dealer roles kind of like mapped out. And so even though it's the same piece of content, there are different lenses that you're seeing the dungeons on. You know, if you're a damage dealer, you're just trying to think about how do these pulls that I'm facing, how do they interact with my damage abilities? How am I using my utility abilities to mitigate like the damage that could kill me? When you're a tank, you're thinking about what the tank busters are. The regular mechanics that hit the other players in the group are jokes to you. They're you could just stand in a swirly and it wouldn't matter. And then for healers, just being able to understand the different damage events that are coming in and how I'm going to map my cooldowns to solve those mechanics. Those are all three very different problems, very fun problems, and are all happening in every single dungeon that you do across the different players. And that's just so cool. And being able to kind of sit there and engage in that on your own and learn what the other people in your group are like the experience that they're having is really sweet. I also found that the experience of completing one of the 10s, so like the experience of completing them all on a healer, really helped me when understanding how to complete the 10s on a different role. So if I understand where the big damage events are happening or what are things that kill my teammates as a healer, when I go to a damage dealer, I know, okay, I need to pop a defensive when I get this dot. I know, okay, this thing is a big AoE that's coming out. If I pop a defensive here, I'm going to radically increase the chance that I live. I know that this cast is going to deal an insane amount of damage, and if I interrupt it, I will be fine. Similarly, when as a tank, it's very easy to understand where the bosses need to be positioned, as well as how to route through the dungeon. When you've been seeing it through a damage dealer or healer perspective, you already know how to get from the beginning of the dungeon to the end of the dungeon to get 100% completion of percentage and not have to worry about your route or anything like that. You kind of just can follow along with what you've already seen, and you can learn from mistakes of groups that have tried to overcomplicate things. I always think about in Motherlode, there is a crusher that's right at the beginning, and you can jump over boxes to try to get around it. And this is like a high Mythic Plus strategy. And if you try to do it in a pug, you will spend more time trying to kill the crusher than you will if you just... Sorry, you will spend more time trying to do the skip than you would if you tried to actually just kill the crusher. And so I found that just trying to W key your way through the dungeons and you can do like easy skips, but you can just try to minimize the amount of complexity because you see when it goes wrong and you understand where people are failing. You can make those educated decisions just from your own perspective of being a passenger on that ride. I also thought that a lot of the weak words and reminders overlapped really well. That kind of goes along with I understand when the damage events are coming out. And lastly, this really extended Mythic Plus for me. The season was really fun. It gave me probably an extra couple of weeks of enjoyment. I spent a lot of the time playing with guildies, which I hadn't done because once we kind of hit the maximum power level on our mains, I didn't feel the need to do a lot more Mythic Plus. And so spending time with guildies, like being kind of given an opportunity to do that, as well as playing with pugs to get those last keys done, and like target specific keys. That was also a kind of a nice mix experience. I would say the worst parts about this is because it was introduced later in the patch, you had to re-clear dungeons that you've already done on your main. So I had already gotten Keystone Legend on my main, and when this came out, I did not retroactively get all of those achievements done, and so I had to re-clear them on my main, which, because this came out after around the turbo boost, I did get a benefit from, because I still needed the crest, I still needed things to boost my character. But it definitely felt more of a formality than anything else. It's nice that you can get it from even higher than that. Like if I wanted to push more on my shaman, my resto shaman, I would have been totally fine with that. But yeah, having to redo it was a little frustrating. I also think that taking a new character and getting it here, getting to these 10s, is a great goal and a really fun journey. But taking a character that's already at maximum power level and having to do the other job, like the other roles in the group, was significantly less enjoyable. It all felt, once you've kind of like got the rotation down, which didn't take that long, it all just felt a bit like a formality, which wasn't as fun. I mean, it was still fun to learn the rotation, and I really do think that the damage dealer role in Keys is probably the most fun. But it kind of was a little frustrating to be like, okay, I know I can do this. I just have to, and I don't want to really push much higher than this on Elemental Shaman, but I'm going to do it because I need to get the achievement. So I've heard from other friends that did this, that when they had their max power level character and they switched to a healer or a tank, they found the challenge to not be much of anything at all. There wasn't that progression journey on a new character that I think is kind of the intent of this. And I don't know. I think maybe it would be beneficial to try to split this and say you have to do a different role on a different class. Yeah. So the last thing is getting a specific key was really challenging on DPS. I needed Rookery and Floodgate on Elemental Shaman in order to get this last achievement that I needed. And man, if I had not gotten Floodgate, it was a drought looking for that Rookery key. There might be one, maybe two groups that are available, and I imagine that if I'm signing up and I'm not an overgeared, overqualified character for this, they see my score in LFG, 3,000 score, 681 item level, they're like, sign me the F up, this guy is going to pump. if I didn't have that, if I wasn't overqualified, I could imagine this could take a really long time until you get the key that you need. But I think honestly, that's in learning from other players' experiences, that's probably just the DPS experience in Mythic Plus right now. If you're in looking for group, it's really hard to get invited to groups, and sometimes it can take a really long time. So again, there's a little bit of a learning opportunity there. Kind of moving forward from this, I have started to level up a Disc Priest healer and trying to see if I can do this challenge kind of on my own time again with a Discipline Priest. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's definitely, learning a different class, but for a role that I'm pretty good with is interesting. It's fun to kind of learn the different rotation. Discipline Priest, it does its healing in a different way than Resto Shaman does, so that's also really fun. And I don't think I would have tried that if this achievement didn't really exist to kind of push me out of that comfort zone of I'm just trying to do the things that I think are the most likely to be successful, and I don't want to waste anyone's time, because it honestly wasn't that big a deal. It's not that hard. There's a lot of tools that they have right now in the game that allow you to kind of learn on your own time, and if you understand and use those tools, it can be really easy to get out of that comfort zone. And yeah, I really just think that this is a great achievement, and I hope that they introduce more things like this in the future. I mean, I'd love to see a heroic raid version of this, or a normal raid version of this, where, trying the different roles in raid, and getting all the bosses killed under a different role. I think that would be sweet. I think having, achievements kind of like in Mage Tower, where completing this on a specific class will get you an ensemble that is specific to your class. That's also could be really sweet. So yeah, there's just a lot of really cool things that this triple threat achievement opens up, and I'm really excited and really looking forward to seeing what they cook up for the next seasons in the future. So yeah, if you have done this achievement, or if you're working on this achievement, how are you feeling about it? What classes did you choose to play? Did you try to, gear up a new character? Did you try to just do them all in the same character? Did you feel like, one was easier than the other? Like, I really want to hear about what y'all have to say. Do you think that there are what other achievements do you think that they could add that kind of entice you to play an alt character? I mean, this is the alt expansion, and it's kind of popping off because of it. So yeah, love to hear about that, and have a great day, y'all.